All right, it is well past midnight at the time of filming this. The draft wrapped up a couple hours ago. I just finished up this NBA draft recap I'd like to share with you guys. Ton of work. Hope you guys appreciate it. We're going to start off with the first overall pick. Washington Wizards select AJ Debonsa. Trae Young signed his contract extension, which probably played a factor into who they would select between him and Darren Peterson. I think Trae Young and Darren Peterson would have made a fine backcourt, but AJ Debonsa is who they went with. They take Felix Okpara in the second round. Anthony Davis is reportedly supposed to be shopped this summer. We'll see how that plays out. I'm excited to see Debonsa with this young core, next to Trae Young, next to Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. Their young core, it's going to be exciting, and it sounds like they're ready to take a leap, so we will see. Next up, Utah Jazz. We just mentioned Darren Peterson. He falls to number 2. Not a very big fall, but he lands in Utah. But to be honest, it's an amazing fit. I don't think he would have slid past 2. Him next to Keontae George, just the defensive. I think the two-way versatility that Darren Peterson brings, the defensive impact that he can bring now that Jaren Jackson Jr. is there. We'll see what happens with Walker Kessler, but bringing some backcourt defense, I think will be the biggest shining point of Darren Peterson. Reportedly, there is some conflict between Peterson and Keontae George. They share the same agent. Keontae George is coming up on his rookie extension. So there was concerns between the agency and the players whether Darren Peterson would go there. He reportedly didn't really work out for the team. He might have met with the team. It's conflicting reports there, but Utah, there's fear that Utah will eventually have to decide between the two. So we will see. I think for now they would be a great fit. I love it. Utah didn't have to move anything. They take Darren Peterson and get out of there. Memphis Grizzlies at number 3. They take, in my opinion, the best player in the draft, Cam Boozer, 3rd overall. They trade down multiple times and select Kareem Lopez, kind of a questioning move. But they acquire Isaiah Stewart. So in the trading down process to select Kareem Lopez, they acquired multiple second-round picks. They exchanged those second-round picks back to Detroit. They were Detroit's original picks. 3 second-round picks to Detroit for Isaiah Stewart. And they take Richie Saunders, 32nd overall. It sounds like they were trying to shop that pick as well. They take Richie Saunders. It's a fun team if this team sticks around. Grit and grind is back, baby. Richie Saunders, a hard-nosed defender. You already know who Isaiah Stewart is. Kareem Lopez, a promising defender. Exciting team. They're way over the limit on roster spots at the moment. So we will see what they decide to do. Richie Saunders was a second-round pick. He can be converted to a two-way. 4th overall, Chicago Bulls take Caleb Wilson. Pretty much a no-brainer pick for them. They had one of the easiest selections in the draft. After that top 3, Caleb Wilson was the obvious number 4 pick. They helped facilitate a Julius Randle trade. They sent out Mo Gay to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who was later waived. The Bulls select Dalen Swain, 15th overall, and their second-round pick, Braden Smith, they sent to Indiana in exchange for Cam Jones. I expect Cam Jones to be waived. He had some legal troubles over in Indiana, so we will see. But the Bulls definitely add slap prospects to their roster, which is what new management highlighted. 5th overall, Los Angeles Clippers. They take their guard. This is the start of the guard run. They take Keaton Wagler, a smooth player. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. The Clippers fill out their front court with Baba Miller, Nick Martinelli. The big story behind all of this, they would not have this Keaton Wagler selection without trading Pika Zubac. They get off of his contract. They retain a top 5 pick. A crazy finesse by the Clippers, who in the past few years had been struggling with their youth and their development and who they have. They have Jordan Miller, Kobe Sanders. So I'm liking the youth movement. I'm liking the direction they're going. Yannick Coden Niederhauser. Um, I love it for the Clippers. They're really turning it around, and Kawhi Leonard might be on the move this summer as well. So we will see. Sixth overall, Brooklyn Nets. They get their guy, Mikal Brown Jr. Uh, as I mentioned before, the Brooklyn Nets help facilitate the Julius Randle trade. Julius Randle ends up in Brooklyn. They the Nets also acquired Joshua Jefferson through the trade via Minnesota's pick. So they take him 28th overall, and they select Tyler Bilodeau in the second round. They move out Nick Claxton. It's looking like Day'Ron Sharpe might be that starting center. The Nets have a ton of money to use this summer. Walker Kessler, Mitchell Robinson. There's a few centers on the market that they could go after, but an interesting roster. It's going to be a funky fit. Might be a fun team to watch, honestly. Seventh overall, Sacramento Kings take Darius Acuff. This was a pretty obvious projected pick for them, with his relations to the franchise. The Kings moved out of the second round, so the Kings will be a very expensive team next season, with the contracts of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, a few others, Keegan Murray's contract. They will be an expensive team. I thought their selection at pick 34 would have been great. It's a great way for them to save money, bring in high-end talent at the start of the second round, but turn it into a non-guaranteed contract that will not go against their books. They went against that. They decided to move up into the first round, selecting Alex Karaban, who will now be given a fully guaranteed rookie contract. I'm not the biggest fan of it. The Kings had a horrendous defense last season. They have for quite a while. Their core, even some of their young guys, are not defensive minded. They take Darius Acuff, who has his defensive flaws. They trade up to select Alex Karaban, who's not known for his defense. Emmanuel Sharp, I love in the second round, honestly. He might be their best defender on day one. The Kings have been looking for a point guard for quite some time. They got Darius Acuff, who projects to be a very skilled offensive player, and Emmanuel Sharp as another backup guard. The Atlanta Hawks, a year after the Derek Queen trade, where the Pelicans sent this first round pick to Atlanta, they select Kingston Flemings with that same pick. They added some more backcourt depth with him alongside Aaron Wiggins, who they acquired for 2 second-round picks. And then size was the other thing that the Hawks needed to address. Onyeka Okongwu is solid, but just not quite the big man that Atlanta needs. So they bring in Zubi Ejiofor and Henri Visar to just bulky big men. They're very different. Zubi Ejiofor is a very dominant paint guy, incredible defender. I love Zubi Ejiofor. I love this draft for the Hawks. They did extremely well. Henri Visar slipped very low into the 50s range. He was a projected late first round pick, and he slips almost out of the draft. So Atlanta snags him. He was a guy who I thought the Hawks could have picked at 23 in the first round, and they end up with him anyway. So they had that size, they had that backcourt depth. I like the draft for the Atlanta Hawks. The Dallas Mavericks, with the first surprise pick in the draft, they take Morris Johnson Jr., reuniting him with Dusty May, who they just brought in as their new head coach a few days ago. They traded up for Sergio De La Reyna. They had the 30th overall pick. They trade up to go select him. We will see. What happens. He was originally being sent to the Knicks, and there was thought that he would be a draft and stash guy for the Knicks because of their financial situation. The Mavericks are fine financially, so they could bring him over. I love him as a point guard. I think he'd be really fun in Dallas. They fill out some more front court depth in the second round as well. The Milwaukee Bucks, what a past few days for them. They move on from Giannis Antetokounmpo. They send out Bobby Portis in the same deal, both going to Miami. In return, they bring back Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kello Ware, Kasper Siakachonis, the 13th overall pick, and multiple future first-round picks via Miami. The Bucks select Braden Burries to add, another piece to their backcourt, and Nate Ament with the 13th overall pick via Miami is heading to Milwaukee. the only team in the draft to have two lottery picks. They use them both. Braden Burries is a solidified. I see him as just a winning player. Was on a very good Arizona team this year, and Nate Ament, a very Bucks pick, high upside, pretty low floor. We will see what he projects out to. They select Malik Thomas with the 60th overall pick as well. There's a possibility they'll reroute Tyler Hero. The Detroit Pistons are rumored to be the favorite at the moment. Looking to get off Miles Turner's contract is probably one of the next steps for them as well. Moving guys out that don't fit this timeline anymore. The Bucks are in a full retool. Miami Heat, on the receiving end of the Giannis trade, they bring in Giannis, Bobby Portis. They address some shooting right away. That is probably the biggest concern with the Heat after this move. Adding some shooting around Bam, Giannis, Davion Mitchell. Shooting is probably going to be one of their biggest concerns. They snag Ryan Conwell in the second round, a great shooter, an NBA-ready shooter. Andrew Wiggins has a $30 million player option. Norman Powell becomes an unrestricted free agent. It's unlikely that Norman Powell will come back. There's rumors that they will shop Nikola Jovic to try to save some money that way. Golden State Warriors, there was a leaked video of the war room on draft day when this pick was being made between Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy, showing a pretty aggressive disagreement over what to do with this pick. They were rumored to maybe shop this pick and to the Pelicans and get Trey Murphy III. But the Warriors were definitely looking for a win now move. They decided to keep the pick, and they still take a win now player in Yaxel Lendenborg. Also reports that Yaxel Lendenborg was the second highest player on the Warriors draft board, so they must have really loved him, falling to 11th for them. They should be happy with the selection. Jimmy Butler will miss the entire next season with an ACL tear, or a majority of next season. Yaxel Lendenborg slides right in there. Porzingis will need to be re-signed. It'll be another interesting summer. Rumored to get LeBron. The Warriors have a long summer ahead of them. OKC. Interesting moves. Everyone was expecting them to trade these picks to get out of the draft, maybe make one or two, but they ended up walking away with 3 prospects. 2 in the first round being Ed Imara and Bennett Sturts. They take Owe in the second round. They have Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein, Kenrich Williams entering free agency. They additionally have a very long summer. They fell short in the conference finals due to injuries. Everyone sees Adi Imara as the potential Wemby stopper. I don't see it, but I think he's a great addition. I think Oklahoma City needed just some more size and just strength to deal with in the post. So they do a good job taking Adi Imara. Bennett Sturts is a great pick for them. He falls out of the lottery. On my big board, I had him as a top 10 prospect. The Thunder move out Aaron Wiggins. There's potential they might move some other guard depth that they already have, just to free up some money this summer. So Bennett Sturts is a great addition for them. Charlotte Hornets, they picked at pick number 14 and pick 18. Just outside the lottery, they take Hannes Steinbach and Christian Andersen, two German players. They played together on the U19 team for Germany. The biggest storyline with the Charlotte Hornets after the draft, it was revealed that the Hornets are actively shopping LaMelo Ball. He's gaining interest from several teams in the East. I'm not really sure what sparked it, what caused it to come as soon as the 60th pick was announced, but LaMelo Ball might be on the move. Detroit Pistons land Ibuka Okori. Similarly, I had Ibuka Okori in my top 10. Great offensive player, and that's exactly what the Detroit Pistons needed. They move off Isaiah Stewart for 3 second-round picks, sending him to the Grizzlies without receiving a player back. And they take Ugonna Onyenso in the second round for more backcourt depth. Definitely a cheaper option. The Pistons are not in any financial troubles at the moment. They're a very cheap team, just not a very expensive team at the moment. They have Jalen Duren's extension coming up that they will most likely end up paying, and they are on the market for just more offensive backcourt weapons. They take one here in Ibuka Okori in case they strike out. I love the pick for them. Toronto Raptors, they take two more defensive-minded players, Allen Graves and Jaden Bradley. I love the players on their own. Just with this Raptors team, I just see lots of similarities with Jaden Bradley and Jamal Shed. And then Allen Graves kind of slotting in at that 3-4 position, which they already have a ton of. Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Colin Murray Boyles. They just have a lot of defensive-minded, forwards and wings, and even guards. Top to bottom, they're a defensive-heavy team. I think they needed a little bit more offensive juice. I hope the Raptors and the Kings can maybe work out a trade to even out their defensive and their offensive extremes that they both have. I have high hopes for these two players. They're just both extremely skilled. I never want to draft for fit. Draft the best player available every time. So I imagine that's what the Raptors did. They probably found some guys that they really liked, and the skills that they have. They are both extremely skilled. I'm excited to see if they can flourish on this Raptors team. San Antonio Spurs, they knew what their mindset was going into the summer. Their front court depth behind Wembanyama is lacking a ton. They brought in Luke Kornet last offseason to be that backup big man, that reliable backup big who has some playoff experience. Did not go too well. Is this the answer? They take Jaden Quaintance and Terrace Reed both in the first round. And then the second round, they select Malik Brown, just three defensive-minded front court guys. Jacoby Gillespie, electric shooter. The team needed some shooting, just backcourt shooting between Fox, Castle, and Harper, just not the best shooters. So adding just another offensive weapon, I think was good for Gillespie and the Spurs. But they did not address shooting with their front court selections, the three that they made. They are honing in on defense, at least through the draft. We will see what the rest of the summer looks like for them. But speaking with a good friend, Michael Weisenberg, last night when the Jaden Quaintance pick was announced, and he made the point that the Spurs are simply just selecting a potential Wemby stopper, not letting another team acquire him, and they just bring him in themselves. Jaden Quaintance, I think if he has a healthy career, definitely has that projection. I think he can guard. He's just an incredible defensive prospect, so the Spurs add that. Philadelphia 76ers, they stop the slide of LeBaron Philon. He falls all the way to pick number 22. I had LeBaron Philon top. He was top 10 on my board as well. Just an incredibly skilled guard. I can't believe he fell this far. There were teams like the Toronto Raptors at 19 that I thought could have selected him. They needed some guard depth and some offensive juice. I think LeBaron Philon brings that. He's just so electric offensively. The 76ers obviously traded Jared McCain away. Quentin Grimes is going to be a free agent this summer, so I don't know how well things will fit between LeBaron Philon, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe in that backcourt. I think he can provide some good backup guard minutes. I love the player. I hope it works out in Philadelphia. LA Lakers, they snag Cameron Carr late in the first round. They move up one spot to take Cameron Carr. In my notes down here, I have Austin Reeves. I mentioned Austin Reeves' player option that he has. He declined that today and signed a massive extension with Los Angeles, so he will remain there. But the question still remains around LeBron James. He's an unrestricted free agent. There seems to be disagreements between him and the LA front office on which direction they want to go. It seems like they want to build around Luka. The Reeves extension maybe didn't give too much clarity towards LeBron and his camp. So we will see, but they take Cameron Carr, just add some more wing depth. A super fun, extremely athletic, just he's a great player. Him falling to 24, I think it wasn't too far out of his range, but he ends up in LA. The Boston Celtics, they were looking for some big man depth. They take Chris Sanac late at pick 27. They also take Dylan Mitchell in the second round. They struck out. The biggest storyline with the Boston Celtics surrounding the draft is they completely swing and miss on the Giannis sweepstakes. They were openly and actively shopping Jaylen Brown. Giannis gets sent to Miami. Boston is now stuck with an unhappy Jaylen Brown. So he's still heavily rumored to be moved. I think if you offer him for Giannis, there's some understanding, but it sounds like the Celtics are still trying to push him out of Boston, um, which makes me think that that relationship is beyond repair. But Kristanek, I like, his shooting ability for a big man. Bringing that back to Boston after trading away Porzingis, I think it's something Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics will like. On the flip side, Dylan Mitchell, not a great three-point shooter, much more of a slasher, defender, just a springy athlete, incredible rebounder for his size, and doesn't necessarily fit the Boston Celtics three-point shooting philosophy, but that's not a bad thing either. Sometimes you need some versatile players that take a punch at the basket, and that's exactly what Dylan Mitchell does. Phoenix Suns, they trade up to acquire Koa Pete with the 30th overall pick. They sent out 3 second-round picks to get there. Koa Pete remains in Arizona, where he went to college. I don't know if it was worth trading out of the second round to take Koa Pete. He definitely has a lot of potential. He's still very young. I think he's well-rounded. He's skilled at quite a few things, but just not super great at any one thing. So we will see how Phoenix develops him. Houston Rockets trade up to the 31st overall pick. They take Bruce Thornton. They desperately needed some backcourt play this summer, some shooting after Fred VanVleet goes down. They take Bruce Thornton, who is a super efficient combo guard, skilled shooter, just a real confident veteran college guy. Makes his way to Houston. They trade up pretty aggressively to snag him. Some rumors going around that everyone is available on the Houston Rockets roster except for Amen Thompson. Not too sure how believable that is. I think they kind of recognize how small these windows for contention are getting in the NBA. So if they want to continue being aggressive, that's a route they can go. I think getting back a healthy Fred VanVleet, they have some work to do this summer. We will see what the Houston Rockets end up doing. Minnesota Timberwolves, they traded Julius Randle to the Brooklyn Nets. That opened up money to bring back Ayo Dosunmu. And then in that Julius Randle trade, they received the 33rd overall pick. They take Isaiah Evans. There's some backcourt. There's some holes in the backcourt. Mike Conley is only getting older. Dante DiVincenzo goes down with an Achilles injury in the playoffs. He will be out for the entire season. So the Timberwolves go out and they add some shooting in Isaiah Evans. I think he can really be a good fit next to the rest of their supporting cast. Obviously, Gobert needs some spacing, but another scoring weapon next to Anthony Edwards. McDaniels, I really like the acquisition of Isaiah Evans there. Rumored to have some interest in LaMelo Ball as well. Another team that might just be really aggressive. Their window has kind of they've had a pretty long window. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they've been in this contention range for a while, just never enough to make that push to the finals or beyond. So we could see an aggressive move from them this summer as well. Cleveland Cavaliers, they take Malik Thomas in exchange for that Sacramento Kings pick where they selected Alex Caravan. They bring in another backup guard. They selected Tyrese Proctor last year. Still young, so we'll see how that works, but they also brought in Lonzo Ball. That did not work out. They brought in Dennis Schroeder. Looks like he's about to be moved. So they're just kind of cycling through these guards, seeing who could stick and who can, provide some impact to this team. Another team clearly looking to win. Report today that the Cavs have some interest in Jaylen Brown, possibly in a Evan Mobley swap. Like I mentioned, these windows are only getting smaller. The chance to contend is very slim. It's only a few years before your team has to blow it up. Cavaliers are a very expensive team, so trading down into the second round, bringing in Malik Thomas, who I think is a first round level talent. They get him on a non-guaranteed contract, so some money-saving moves from the Cavaliers. Denver Nuggets. They traded the pick that ended up becoming Terrence Reed Jr. I would have loved Terrence Reed Jr. as the backup big behind Nikola Jokic. Sounds like Jonas Valanciunas is going to be out, on his way out the door. So they did not. Depends how you view Trevon Brazile and Bryce Hopkins. I do not view them as true true fives. Just a little too skinny, especially with the Western Conference big men that they'll have to go through. So we'll see. We'll have to see what happens with Valanciunas if they address any of the big man needs during free agency. But they definitely had some forward depth. I would consider these guys more power forwards. So they had some depth there as well. Indiana Pacers were not originally in this draft. They snuck their way in, trading with the Chicago Bulls. They sent out Cam Jones, who I mentioned had some legal troubles. They bring in Braden Smith, a guy who I see very, very similar to TJ McConnell. Tyrese Halliburton is still on his recovery from the Achilles after getting shingles. An extremely rough year for the Indiana Pacers. They lose out on their pick. They bring in Ivica Zubac, but we'll see. It sounds like it was just supposed to be kind of a quick turnaround for them, and they were hoping to contend next season. We'll see how that goes. New York Knicks continuously traded down out of this draft. They originally had the 24th pick, and they traded down. You can see on all the players that they moved, that's how many picks they traded down and then traded down again. Eventually, they made a selection in Jack Hale from Germany and Tyler Nickel out of Vanderbilt. Just some backcourt pieces. Mitchell Robinson is going to be a free agent. The Knicks are in some pretty tight financial times right now, so they add 2 second-round picks rather than the first-round pick. That would have been a fully guaranteed rookie contract. They bring in 2 guys they can add as two-way players. The Orlando Magic, not too much action from them, but they bring in a big man, Isaiah Nelson. He stays home in Florida. Kind of a nice little story there. He's a fun player. Just another backup 4/5 to add as they figure out their Goga Batadze, Mo Wagner, Wendell Carter, and even kind of the Paolo situation. It's very much an Orlando pick. The New Orleans Pelicans, they had their lone draft pick this season at pick 58. After trading for Derek Queen last season, they had no first-round pick. They barely had a second-round pick, but at 58th overall, they take Jaron Pierre Jr. And the last team without a draft pick this cycle were the Portland Trailblazers, who made no trades, made no efforts into this draft. And that's where we will wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed. I tried to speed through it just to make it a short, digestible video. A little bit more draft recap content coming soon. So stay tuned for that.